the United Nations. He has made it clear all options are on the table to stop the slaughter.
As President Trump pushes a peace plan in Ukraine, that country's energy minister accuses Russia of weaponizing winter, saying not a single Ukrainian power plant has been spared from attack, and he says hundreds of thousands of people are without electricity and power in what's the coldest winter there in years. The anger simmers in Minneapolis with another night of anti-ICE protests outside a detention center following recent immigration enforcement-related shootings.
Protesters, some who claim to be just visual witnesses, can be seen surrounding and pounding on a government vehicle last night. These tense scenarios are playing out on the daily as protesters target immigration agents near that federal facility.
That's Fox's Matt Finn in Minneapolis. America's listening to Fox News.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Michaela's Mobile Spa, Michaela! Michaela got a quick business insurance quote from Progressive and chose from over 30 customizable coverages. Sure, it helps she's her only employee and does literally everything, but while others would rest on their laurels, Michaela was hard at work saving big. So take that, hypothetical other employee who doesn't exist. Be your own Michaela. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.
Welcome to the most wonderful time of the year, when millions of Americans open their credit card statements, scream in terror, and start looking for new ways to save money. If that's you, why not cut your wireless bill in half with a saver plan from Pure Talk? You'll get unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on a super fast 5G network for just $20 a month. Ho, ho, ho. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will help you switch in minutes. Again, talk, text, and data for just $20.
The station Delaware and Maryland turns to for local news. Here is another Delmarva News Update here on 92.7 WGMD, WGMD.com, and the WGMD app.
The Wicomico County Council will remove the practice of opening its board meetings by reciting the Lord's Prayer. The move comes after the council received a cease and desist letter from a national group called Freedom from Religion Foundation. The letter says that the group, which had been very successful in many other cases, would sue Wicomico County if the Lord's Prayer was not removed from county board meetings. The county's lawyers told council members that any lawsuit on this topic would likely escalate all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. The county also recently was forced to settle legal actions from the ACLU and the NAACP that involved the elimination of 2 at-large board seats. 3 local police agencies have earned state accreditation. Dagsboro, Ellendale, and Selbyville police departments were awarded certificates of accreditation during a ceremony on Tuesday. State law, passed in 2023, requires all police agencies in Delaware to be accredited by 2028. Right now, about 64% of all Delaware police agencies have attained accreditation. Governor Matt Meyer has now nominated John Sheehan to serve as the next president of the Delaware State Board of Education. Sheehan, a longtime public servant with experience in education policy at both the state and national levels. The governor's office says he currently serves as interim executive director of the University of Delaware's Biden Institute and previously worked as deputy chief of staff to Governor Meyer, helping to advance priorities related to education, workforce development, and school funding. Sunny but chilly today, the high only about 39. Tonight turning mostly cloudy, a morning low of 33. For these and other stories, visit our website, talkofdelmarva.com. I'm Jared Cirillo.
If you're thinking about retiring soon, be sure to tune into Wise Money with Michael Anderson of Anderson Wealth Management this Saturday morning at 9. Listen as Michael Anderson talks about the latest trends and headlines that could impact your retirement. Don't go into retirement unprepared. Listen this Saturday morning at 9 to Wise Money with Michael Anderson of Anderson Wealth Management. Michael Anderson, registered investment advisors, doing business at Anderson Wealth Management, is a registered investment advisor.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Well, it's Friday again, Digital Interactive Friday. Thank you for joining us at realnewstalk.com. And again, my friends, if you have not joined the Dial community, this is the first ever interactive radio broadcast with pictures, by the way. As you can see, I'm wearing my tie today. realnewstalk.com. Join our producers at the Dial community. You will not be disappointed. You will be part of this broadcast. I want to welcome, as our first panelist today, Casey Fleming, counterintelligence expert and founder of Black Ops Partners, recognized as a leader for corporate directors in strategic risk and governance. Talking about strategic risk, if I could ask you first, Casey, before we start talking about Iran, the outage that Verizon Cellular had on Wednesday. Do you believe that that was some type of cyber attack and Iran was behind that?
I believe it was a cyber attack. That's what we typically see. They're typically dry runs, but that's all we have on that right now. We don't have any specific detail.
Well, Iran was certainly threatening to do something like that a few hours before it happened. So, and I'm one of the people that was affected, but I wanted to ask you that question. Now, with respect to Iran, you say Iran is not just collapsing under the weight of its own failures, it's becoming the world's first real-time case study in high-tech decapitation warfare and a warning flare for what comes next. According to geopolitical strategist and cybersecurity expert Casey Fleming, all roads in the story lead back to the Chinese Communist Party. Casey, tell us what you mean.
If you research, if you run the trap and focus on all the counterintelligence. For the past 30 years, it's been the Chinese Communist Party that has been building this global network against the United States for full takeover of the U.S. I know that sounds extreme, but that's exactly what's going on. So all these things are actually linked. You have CCP money and agents of the CCP that are funding Minneapolis riots, L.A. riots, all these things. It's called unrestricted war. And so Venezuela's linked, as well as Iran and numerous other things. And so it's a very tight network of what I call, and we call the CCP axis, where truly the Chinese Communist Party is the grand puppeteer over Russia, Iran, Pakistan, North Korea, Venezuela, and underneath Iran, you have them managing and leading the terrorist organizations.
I have been saying for the last several years that I believe that this country is in the midst of its second revolution, but this one's different. This is a communist revolution. I believe that the Democrat Party is now the Democrat Communist Party, and that many of those who are at war with the Republic have been bought and paid for by the Chinese Communist Party. Your response to that?
You are 100%, my friend. I actually have just written a mini Manhattan project that has been reduced down to a checklist for the American people to describe all of this. And I want to say that our folks, our brothers and sisters on the left, on the right, and in the center are all being played in this thing. Okay, so I think they're being played. They don't understand. I don't care what side you're on. We are all being played. Now, yes, you have radical left and you have radical radical right.
Right.
But all of us are fighting a common enemy. And if they had the true intelligence and the true story, we would all understand that and stop being at each other's throat. Incidentally, we're all being played because the more angry we become at our brothers and sisters on the other side, that's exactly what the enemy wants. And it's called, we know it, divide and conquer.
There was a TikTok video that was posted last week from I believe, an agent of the Chinese Communist Party, and I had Gordon Chang on the broadcast the following day to analyze it. Gordon doesn't get very angry often, but Gordon got angry about this, and I just played it before we came on this hour. I want to play it for you. I'm not sure if you watched it or heard about it, but tell us what you think. This is I believe, an agent of the Chinese Communist Party. He's called an influencer. I believe he's just an agent of the CCP. They posted this. This was posted from China. Listen to this.
If you have an American flag in front of your house, swipe away. Do not watch this video. Okay, there's about 10% Americans want a revolution. It's too early, but it's not too early to prepare for the revolution. Let me share with you a business plan to prepare for the revolution. Right now, it's 2026. If some households still have an American flag in front of their house, that means those people are supporting the American system. They are your enemy, and they will be your enemy when the revolution starts. Before you eat the rich, you need more resources and weapons. Where to get all these resources and weapons? Get it from those households who got American flag in front of their house. Okay, so you guys also need to have a community set up a website and ask all your members to take picture of every household who got American flag and upload those information to your website, the address of each household. When the time comes, you guys can use this information as evidence to eat them first. Eat them, God will support you. Buddha will support you. Eat them with no regret, okay? So this is my business plan for you. When the time comes, some household, they will pay you a lot of money just to take off those information off your website.
Your response, Casey Fleming?
You are in World War III. That's what this looks like. Every American man, woman, and child is in World War III. It's called unrestricted war. What you just heard was cognitive war. And so absolutely, agent of the CCP. And by the way, they have Americans and Brits and Australians that they pay good money to post against their own countries. So if this isn't a call to action, I don't know what is. At this particular point, I need to plug the book. It's a survival guide. It's not a book, and it is exactly what we're talking about here. If you want to get the answers, if you want to understand how to fight this, get the book. You can order it right now, The Red Tsunami, on Amazon. And you can also get it Tuesday on Amazon. And that's pre-order now for ebook. Tuesday, you can actually order the hard copy. The Red Tsunami. .com is also a place you can order the book as well. But it covers all this. We put together a mini Manhattan Project into a checklist for every American mailbox, every school, every high school, every college, university. That's what this is for. I heard about it. I didn't listen to it. And if Gordon Chang was pretty upset, you don't know what upset is. So we've been fighting this for years, and you sound like, when you do this, you sound like, you're kind of nuts, and it's not. So we connect all the counterintelligence, and incidentally, behind the book are over 20 top intelligence subject matter experts endorsing the book. So this isn't Casey's book. This is your book. I've done my job. You do yours in the audience. Go buy this book and get it done for every one of your family members. You need to understand what you're up against, and this is truly, you are in World War III.
The Red Tsunami is a survival manual, Casey, correct? That's what you're saying?
Yes, it is.
And quite frankly, my friends, I've been chiming this Chinese insurrection, the Chinese Communist Party trying to and taking over our government. They have made significant inroads, and they've infiltrated every aspect of our government, have they not?
They absolutely have. We call them captured elites. Not everybody, but it's significant enough. Same thing. K Street law firms are lobbying like crazy. It's all called foreign influence. We can't influence China. They'll run us right out. They won't even let us in the country. But no. We certainly come in. We let them come in here. They influence business, government, state, federal, local government, schools, colleges, universities, and so on. In fact, there's over 40 CCP police stations on sovereign U.S. soil.
Yep.
Mainstream legacy media is being compromised by the Chinese Communist Party. So what you're not hearing is very important as to what you are hearing, and realize a lot of it is propaganda. So you need to get the facts. You need to understand what's going on. You need to be able to connect the dots so you can decode all this that's going on. It is kind of complex, but the book is not. The survival guide is not complex. It's written for every mailbox.
And you can pre-order now on Amazon, correct? The Red Tsunami? All right. Casey, we need to take a break here on Your News Talk America. Want to come back, talk more about the CCP. We can perhaps mention Venezuela. They were very busy in Venezuela. Obviously, they're very connected with the mullahs in Iran. We're going to talk more with Casey Fleming, counterintelligence expert and founder of Black Ops Partners, the book, The Red Tsunami. I'll bet you my producers have already ordered this book right now on Amazon. Good for you who have done that, back with questions that you posted for Casey as well on Your News Talk America. Digital Interactive Friday continues in just a moment. Please stay with us.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Ample sunshine expected today, with daytime highs approaching 39. Winds out of the southwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight, lows level off around 32. Slight chance of rain tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 48. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. About an inch of snow Sunday. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center, inland. Currently 28.
The best mix of news, talk, and sports. 92.7 and 98.5. The Talk of Delmarva. Get the WGMD app online today.
My name is Whitney Allen. I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Admiral Jewelry and Coin Company, Route 16 in Milton, is once again offering a free coin appraisal service. That's right, whether you have a few coins or a comprehensive collection, we'll evaluate and appraise your coins based on current market conditions.
To find out what your coins are worth, stop by Admiral Jewelry and Coin Company on Route 16 in Milton or call 302-684-0886. That's 684-0886. Tune in this Monday afternoon after the 4:30 news as WGMD's featured guest will be Jim Fritz of All American Mortgage, specializing in reverse mortgages and keeping you up to speed with Delmarva's ever-changing housing market this Monday afternoon after the 4:30 news.
Views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and not necessarily the staff, management, ownership, advertisers, or sponsors of WGMD.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
You're watching Your News Talk America, Digital Interactive Friday. We continue with our panelist, Casey Fleming, counterintelligence expert and founder of Black Ops Partners, the author of The Red Tsunami, The Silent Storm Killing Your Freedom. Casey, can you provide us with your analysis with what's happening right now in Iran? Because it appears to me that this is almost the same scenario that happened between 1978 and 79, which you and I appear to be about the same age. We lived through, we watched it, we lived it. Same thing happening right now, but perhaps a different approach by a U.S. president walking. He's walking like Teddy Roosevelt, carrying a big stick, talking big with a big with a rather large voice and carrying a big stick. What differences do you see today based on what things were like 47 years ago?
Well, number one, it's more surgical because we have that capability now to be very surgical in taking out and decapitating a nefarious regime. And secondly, we've got technology. We've got internet. We've got social media and so on that we can kind of control as well. So those are really the differences between the two. But what you have, it's the same thing. You've got a totalitarian dictatorship that's partnered and basically a forward operating base for the Chinese Communist Party in the Middle East. Venezuela was the forward operating base for the Chinese Communist Party and Russia in the Western Hemisphere.
No question about it. What do you think Beijing did with response to this precision operation that we conducted in Venezuela? How has China, do you think, reacted, and how did the mullahs in Tehran react when we extracted Maduro from Venezuela 2 weeks ago?
They became extremely nervous. So they're in reaction mode because for the past 20 years, the Chinese Communist Party, the Russians, and the complete axis that I mentioned to you before, they've been unchecked. They've been unchecked from the American government, the American military, and they've been able to grow nefariously to where we are today. And most people don't understand it. This is what World War III looks like. You are in World War III, and it's a people's war, according to Xi Jinping, meaning it's the fight is on the people. So it's COVID, it's TikTok, it's fentanyl, and all of those are much worse than people understand behind the scenes, and we cover that in the Survival Guide.
I've got a couple of questions here posted by our listener producers for you. The first one is about Verizon, and you already answered that question that you think the Verizon situation was a case of a cyber attack, which I believe to be the case. Let's move on to the next question from our producer Wolf, and thank you, producer Bob, for that question. How effective are Iranian cyberware capabilities right now? Do they get help from Beijing? Are they as good as they claim to be? And the Iranians are very good at claiming to be very artful, but they weren't very good last June when we took out their nuclear reactors, were they?
Correct. But cyber is a different story. It just takes one educated person, you know, to build a nuclear plant, and nuclear bombs take quite a bit, but to do severe damage, you can just have a very bright individual, incidentally, who may have been trained in a U.S. university right next to American kids. So same with the Chinese Communist Party. So cyber is it's a one-to-many. It accelerates all other methods of what's called unrestricted war. But North Koreans have extreme cyber capability. Chinese do. Russians do. It's to weaken your enemy by all means necessary for complete takeover.
Starlink has obviously been somewhat effective in Iran of going around the internet and phone blackout. But right now, the Iranians appear to be gaining some momentum by jamming the GPS for Starlink. How successful has Starlink been in getting some of the pictures and information out of Iran that we've needed over the past few weeks? And do you think Starlink, given the fact that it can operate with SIM cards from adjoining countries such as Iraq, may still pose a problem for the regime? What do you think?
Yes, that is absolutely true. All we need is just a few people sending in and being able to communicate, video, audio, whatever. But yeah, that's definitely something that happens.
Have you considered what the likely outcome is for this uprising? We never expected back in 1979 for the Ayatollah Khomeini to walk out of his hotel room in Paris, where he had been staying for I don't know how many years, and fly into Tehran and take over the country. But it happened. Have you formulated any type of prediction about what's going to happen in Iran and the timetable, and what's China going to do if the regime falls?
Well, first, China will, just like Venezuela, they'll back off. They won't come in and intervene. It's not their fight. They'll say it's their fight and blood brothers till the end in that CCP axis.
Right.
But they're blood brothers to get 90% of Iran's oil. This regime is very top-heavy. Typically, totalitarian regimes are very top-heavy.
Really?
But you have to, it's all the power is in just a few at the very top.
It's very centralized, you're saying.
very centralized, very top heavy, unlike democracies and free countries. It's all spread out, and if somebody gets taken out or whatever, they're replaced very easily. So the problem and the question is with these totalitarian regimes is, can we go deep enough to get everybody who may be a potential successor and to help the other democratic, free people coming in to take back their country. So, you're seeing these, and I'll say Venezuela, Iran are just cracking the door open. This thing is much worse. That video, I'm very happy you played it for everyone. That absolutely squares what's going on. So you're in this war, and they don't need Venezuela. The CCP does not need Venezuela. They don't need Russia, and they don't need Iran. This thing, your true enemy, and the FBI Director Wray for the past many years, and Patel said that it's the CCP is the most significant threat to the future of the United States.
Well, let me ask you this follow-up question, if I may. We suspect that our elections in this country, due to some very nefarious things have been going on, not only 2020, but 2024 as well, some midterm elections. How involved is China in stealing our elections? Just last week, I had two panelists on that one of them you probably know, Ken Cuccinelli, was on with me last week. Another from Pennsylvania. There is malicious code that's been found in election machines in Pennsylvania. It's still in there. It was in there in 2020. The machines are uncertified. All roads lead to China with respect to the suspicions that we have of election fraud?
Yes. Well, it's not just China. Russia's in there too, and Iran to a degree. But China is the big bully. Again, they're the grand puppet master of everything that's going on. From Ukraine, that's all been planned. We've said this for the past 4 years. Expect 3 wars and terrorist organizations. God forbid that the next thing are terrorist acts inside the United States that are activated, not just by Middle East terrorists, but also by Chinese terrorists that have come in, special operations terrorists, and a huge number of them. So it's very effective to come in and set up operations before an actual conventional war starts, but also to drive this whole unrestricted war again, which includes a lot that people don't understand. These riots, this craziness that's going on the streets, it's all a threat to your freedom, and your freedom was given to you by our ancestors and people that walked before you. It's on you. You now need to protect your own freedom, and this time it's not the military, and the plan is never to involve the military. They are involving every citizen to election fraud, election hacking, all these things. Not to mention kill switches in our critical infrastructure.
During the 2024 election year, there were Chinese citizens here in the United States, Chinese passports, who were showing up where I'm broadcasting from in Delaware, showing up at gun ranges to take firing, to practice firearms discharge. They were going to the range to shoot, and someone was fortunate enough to get copies of their passports. I actually forwarded them on to someone I know who sent them on their way to someone in Washington. But the fact is, the Biden regime was letting this happen. These were Chinese soldiers. Many of them came across the border, correct? They came across the southern border, opened up wide by the Biden regime. If they were just innocent people, why were they taking firearms training at our local gun ranges?
Because they're staying sharp. They're special operations people. The number is over 200,000 that came across the southern border.
200,000?
200,000. And they're held up in safe houses. They're also part of the protests right now doing not innocuous, but serious things under the military, below military. But that's what you're seeing.
Wow, Casey, thank you. This has been an incredible segment this morning. Casey Fleming, counterintelligence expert and founder of Black Ops Partners. The Red Tsunami The Silent Storm Killing Your Freedom. You can pre-order it on Amazon today. The Red Tsunami. Casey Fleming is the author. Casey, I'd love to have you back on again. We can talk more about this. Is that possible?
I would be honored.
Thank you, Casey. Thank you for coming on, and you've given us a lot to think about. Remember, my friends, the Red Tsunami. Coming right back in just a moment.
Here is the marine forecast from the Taco Delmarva Weather Center. A gale warning continues. Sunshine with highs heading to the upper 30s to near 40 today. And on the water, west-southwest winds will be strong, 10 to 25 knots. Seas subside to 3 to 4 feet by afternoon. The current water temperature is 39 degrees. At Cambridge, low tide 8:12 a.m., high tide 2:37 p.m., low tide 9:26 p.m. And at Rehoboth Beach, low tide 12:20 p.m., high tide 6:03 p.m., low tide 11:59 p.m.
MJ Powell, weekdays 3 to 6, here on 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD. MJ Powell, afternoons on WGMD. You're listening to WGMD.
This WGMD Fox Business Update is brought to you by Sussex Environmental Consultants. For a healthy home, call 302-947-1810.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report. Stocks opened higher and turned mixed. Chip stocks are getting a boost from the U.S. trade agreement with Taiwan. That includes building chips and chip factories in the U.S. NVIDIA, Broadcom, Micron Technology, Advanced Micro Devices, and Taiwan Semiconductor shares all opened higher. PNC Financial's profit jumped 25% in the recent quarter. The stock's up more than 2.5%. It made more from interest payments and mergers and acquisitions, and PNC has completed its acquisition of First Bank, which boosts its presence in Colorado and Arizona. Novo Nordisk shares are up more than 4%. There were more than 3,000 prescriptions for the Wegovy weight loss pill in the first 4 days of its launch. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
Progressive Commercial presents Heroes That Keep Truckers Going. Today's hero, your favorite sassy diner server. Sure, her eyes might say, I don't have all day. But deep down, you know that extra pancake on your plate says, I dislike you less than most people. Thanks, hero. What else can keep truckers going? Progressive Truck Insurance with primary liability limits up to $2 million. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to terms and limits. Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Digital Interactive Friday. Friday's my favorite day of the year. Continues, my friends. And boy, that was a very, very scary situation that Casey Fleming described to us. But my friends, if you've listened to me for any length of time, you know that I've been saying we're in our second revolution. This is a communist revolution. And Casey said that I was absolutely right. So I'm glad. He could have said I was wrong, but he said, sadly, he said I was right. Now, I believe, let's see, we're waiting on our next panelist, and this is how things work in radio. So I'm going to go on here, and I am going to send our next panelist. Let's see here, Jonathan Gilliam, the author of Sheep No More, former FBI agent. Let's see where we are here. Give me a moment. And again, this is how it happens on radio. When I'm talking to you and you can't see me, here we go. Can you log on? All right, I just sent Jonathan a text, so hopefully he confirmed. So, and he's pretty reliable, so I'm sure he will be with us shortly. But producer Bob said that, well, he asked the question, is Joe Biden and his family still receiving millions from the CCP? Bob, when the old plugster went into the Oval Office, every decision he made benefited China and the Chinese Communist Party. Every decision. So obviously, is there a quid pro quo? I don't know, but you heard what Casey said about China buying out our elected representatives on Capitol Hill. And I'm sure there are state and local representatives also, because China has many interests, as you know, that have also been bought out. But look at Eric Swalwell, Fang Fang's boyfriend. I mean, he is an obvious agent of the Chinese Communist Party, and he's still in Congress, now running for the United States Senate. How dangerous is that? You know how much more? He was on the House Intel Committee, no more. But do you know how much more in the way of intel that he will have access to as a United States Senator? I mean, it's so shocking that I don't even want to. I don't even want to think about it. But this Eric Swalwell character, he should have been charged with espionage when he was dating and sleeping with Fang Fang, who then disappeared, went back to China. The Chinese Communist Party crashed a commercial jet with her information on it, and then they claimed that she wasn't alive anymore. She died in the plane crash. Well, let's put it this way. There's some doubt as to whether she's actually dead. All they did was just change her identity, and she's in some sort of CHICOM witness protection program. So there's so much, unfortunately, for us to consider. But you have these groups, and I'm just going to Ice Watch, the one that's involved in Minnesota. According to Casey Fleming, it's groups like this that are being laundered money, and at the top of the food chain is the Chinese Communist Party. So again, if you want to go on Amazon and order that book, my friends, The Red Tsunami, The Silent Storm Killing Your Freedom. And that is, the author is Casey Fleming, Fleming. I probably should have put a link to it on my notes. I had all the links in there this morning. I forgot to put that one on, so my apologies to that. But what we're going to do, and we're going to just take a okay. Casey was very pleased with the interview this morning. I just heard from the booker, so that means we'll get him back and more of our questions for the producers. So while we're waiting for our panelist, Jonathan Gilliam, Snerdley, we're going to take a break, and I'm going to reach out to
Delmarva forecast. Ample sunshine expected today with daytime highs approaching 39. Winds out of the southwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight, lows level off around 32. Slight chance of rain tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 48. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. About an inch of snow Sunday. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center, inland. Currently, it's 30 degrees.
The Rita Cosby Show, weeknights at 10 on WGMD's 98.5. Mike Bradley mornings on WGMD.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife, and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Mike.
Rain-X wipers are the #1 wiper blades in America. That means all kinds of drivers choose Rain-X. Big drivers in small cars choose Rain-X. Small drivers in big cars choose Rain-X. Drivers with long hair and short commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with short hair and long commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with pets on board, babies on board, and bored babies on board choose Rain-X. Basically, drivers who love a clear view of the road all choose Rain-X wipers, the #1 wiper blades in America.
From wind turbines off the Delmarva coast to the gun debate in Dover to the blueprint for Maryland's future in Annapolis, Mike Bradley has you locally covered with all you need to know. Weekday mornings 5 to 9 here on 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD. Hollywood 360 with Carl Amari.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carl Amari, and this is Hollywood 360, the radio show that presents all things entertainment, including trivia contests and games, movie reviews, celebrity interviews, showbiz news, and classic radio shows.
Join host Carl Amari's Hollywood 360, 8 to 10 p.m. Saturday and Sunday from 7 to 10 p.m. on 92.7 and 98.5, The Talk of Delmarva, a Delmarva original, and one of the country's most successfully owned independent radio stations, providing news, talk, and sports to the peninsula for over 40 years. 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues, and we have no contact with our panelist, Jonathan Gilliam, who confirmed with me that he would be here, so I don't know what the situation is. However, having said that, we're going to continue on, and I want to talk about the situation that we only learned about really yesterday, and that is that an FBI vehicle that was parked on a street in Minneapolis was broken into, and a number of items were stolen from that vehicle. Now, this was not your typical car break-in, my friends. This was troublesome because the thugs who broke into this vehicle, one of them was an illegal member of a gang, the Latin Kings. He was the leader of this group. They used a nylon, one of those tow straps at another vehicle to pull the weapons locker, which was secured in the vehicle, to pull it out of the vehicle onto the street, then broke into it and stole an automatic weapon. In addition, there were body armor pieces that were stolen that belonged to the FBI, and sensitive government documents, which those documents, we understand, contained ICE operation information and the names of ICE agents. Wow, that's great. So this Latin Kings member was then eventually arrested by the FBI for vandalizing the vehicle, stealing government property in Minneapolis. So I'm not sure if others involved in that were arrested. Kash Patel has not said that, but the Latin King gang member, been identified as Raul Gutierrez, age 31, and he is now in jail. I'm sure that some judge in Minnesota will probably allow him to walk out without bail by the end of this day. But the question is, where's the weapon? The weapon's missing. Body armor is missing. Those documents are being used to further threaten, I'm sure, ICE operations and our ICE officers. Now, I posed in my morning monologue this morning during the first hour of this broadcast, which is just radio, that what if that automatic weapon stolen from an FBI vehicle, what if it is used against law enforcement, federal law enforcement, by these gang members? Now, the night before, if you remember, an ICE agent was attempting to arrest an illegal from Venezuela and got into a scuffle with him. He was hit with a snow shovel. And then two other illegals who were witnessing this, not relating, there was no relation to the Venezuelan at all. None, zero, nada. They took off ran towards the scene to aid the other illegal who was fighting with the officer, hitting him with the snow shovel. They started hitting him with a broomstick. But the question remains, was the one Venezuelan trying to get the officer's gun, and would he have taken the officer's gun and used the weapon against him? I believe he would have. Now, the three illegals, and they all have very extensive records, my friends. They are all now in custody. But why was that ICE officer? And I think this is, again, this speaks to what President Trump needs to do today, and so far has not announced it. That ICE officer was operating alone, no partner around, I'm not a law enforcement officer. I don't play one on TV, don't play one on the radio. But listen, in that kind of an environment, any law enforcement officer should not be working alone. Do you agree? Having said that, I believe that the time has come to make sure that our federal law enforcement officers in the Twin Cities at this moment, right now, are not outnumbered. Because right now it appears that they are outnumbered. Not only are those from this organization, ICE Watch, and I believe they're just a cover group. I believe that they're just being pains in the rear end to ICE operations to hinder them somewhat. The real enemy of ICE in these mass deportations are the Latin King gang member, those two that were watching and ran out. There is an army of illegals, dangerous illegals, that has been brought into this country by the Democrat Communist Party since 2021, January of 2021, when they deliberately opened up the border. That's what they have. They have an army of these dangerous illegals, and they don't want that army out of this country. That's how I feel. Now, again, I don't understand why that officer 2 nights ago was operating independently without a partner nearby. I don't understand why government vehicles with sensitive information, body armor, and firearms are being left unattended. Now, the firearm was secured in a gun box. It was, absolutely. But that gun box was ripped out of the car, and it was eventually opened on the street on the battlefield. I keep saying street. It's not a street anymore. It is a battlefield. Make no mistake about that. By the enemy. So what do we do? I mean, the fact is that President Trump needs to trigger the Insurrection Act now. I don't know why he's waiting. It needs to be done now because our officers are operating in a very dangerous situation on this battlefield. And make no mistake, my friends, it is a battlefield. So I would have to say that I would hope before the end of today that President Trump triggers the Insurrection Act and that we start to see the troops moving into Minneapolis. It's needed. Now, Judge Andrew Napolitano, the senior judicial analyst at Newsmax, was on with us yesterday. And Judge Knapp said that if the president triggers the Insurrection Act, and he even admitted that it's probably needed at this point, that he would recommend that MPs, those who are trained for law enforcement, are the ones that are going to descend on Minneapolis. Why? Because Judge Napolitano says that soldiers who would be sent normally in this situation are not trained for law enforcement. They don't know how to preserve evidence and preserve crime scenes and things of that nature. He said MPs do. So it was Judge Napolitano's opinion that if President Trump is going to trigger the Insurrection Act, that it be done with MPs, military police, that are trained to be actual law enforcement officers. Makes sense. So what you don't want is to start arresting the enemy, and then the enemy is going to be released on technicalities because the crime scene was not protected, evidence was not protected. That's where we are. That's where we will be if ordinary soldiers descend upon the battlefield, Minneapolis. Now, could a soldier, an armed soldier, have stood guard over that FBI vehicle? Oh, yeah, absolutely. But if we are going to allow the military to do law enforcement duties, it's Judge Napolitano's opinion that those duties include are handled by those who have law enforcement training in the military. That would be that would be Judge Napolitano's recommendation. Now, I just looking at the Dial Lounge, and Xnuke says Casey's book. Saw it on the website. Amazon only had Kindle. I bought the book on Casey's website. There you go. I've already gotten an email from the booker saying that Casey loved being on this broadcast. Couple of questions for Jonathan Gilliam. And again, I apologize. I have no idea where he is. He was confirmed to be here. And this comes from producer Bob. From a midterm election perspective, should Trump prosecute all citizen insurrections USA-wide or show restraint so as not to motivate independent and undecided voters to give Congress back to the Demcoms? Well, that's interesting, Bob. And I'm going to tell you that I'm trying to I guess it was Laura Ingram's program, the Ingram Angle, last night. They actually had someone from Minnesota, a Minnesota voter, not in the Twin Cities, from the suburbs. And they are very angry about what's going on in their state right now. They're not angry at ICE. They're angry at the governor, Tampon Tim Walz. So, you know what? Minnesota is, and I've talked about this before, I spent years working for a company based in St. Paul, Minnesota, and spent a lot of time in the Twin Cities. And the people that live in Minnesota are not really hard party, card-carrying voters. They're very independent thinkers, which is why you had 2 terms of Jesse the Body Ventura as the governor in Minnesota. The Minnesotans, they're not going to statewide. They're not going to buy this. They are not going to allow the Demcoms to get away from this. Now, will the Somali crowd in Ilhan's district, congressional district number 5, are they going to continue to elect Demcoms who keep giving them access to social programs and Medicaid and food stamps and so forth? Oh, absolutely. That's not going to change. You're not going to see Minneapolis, St. Paul start to roll up their sleeves and vote for Republican candidates. That's not going to happen. But the rest of the state, that's a far different situation. And I still think that Tim Walz is going to have to resign before too long. I think it's coming. I think you can see it in his face. And when he goes on TV and he says, I want you to take pictures and videos, and we're going to assemble a database. We're going to go after these ICE agents. What does that tell you? Well, it tells you 2 things. First of all, he is not an American. He spent a lot of time in China, Tim Walz did. So is he perhaps doing China's bidding? Maybe it confirms what Casey Fleming was telling us in the prior segment. But the fact is that I think Walz, as I mentioned just a moment ago, he is going to have to resign. He is not going to be able to stay as a governor. The fact that he's not running for re-election tells you the heat is on. And then Jacob Frey earlier this week, for the first time ever, went on Fox News. And then 24 hours later, well, less than 24 hours later, he went on Fox News again. He's never been on Fox News before. Something is happening in Minnesota. People are starting to see what's going on. And there was a comment made this morning, and it's funny, I was walking through my house, and Nancy had Fox on, and I heard Brian Kilmeade on Fox and Friends say, why doesn't ICE do or Homeland Security do a presser every week and put up the mugshots and the rap sheets of all of the people that they're taking off the street? You know, I think that's a good idea. But after a while, do you think people turn off something like that? They don't pay attention? I remember during the old 1960s FBI series, every few months J. Edgar Hoover would come on at the end of the program and do the America's Most Wanted. You know, the FBI is looking for this one or that one or this one. You know, after a certain amount of time, do you turn it off? Maybe the first time you watch it, it's something that, hey, this is really cool. J. Edgar Hoover is telling us who the G-men are going after. And then after that, it's like, who cares? But I think that certainly it's on their website who they're pulling off, but maybe they need to do more. Maybe they need to do videos on and get them on TikTok rather than letting the Chinese propagandist come on and tell those who hate this country to rat on your neighbors and then send that information to the Chinese Communist Party and make sure that you know that anyone who's flying a flag, they probably have weapons inside that house. You can get those weapons and use them in the revolution. That's what he said. So I just think that where we perhaps are missing on the messaging. I think that Minnesotans are starting to, not starting, I think they see it. I think if they're out of the cities, but there's no question that the Demcoms did create, as I've been saying for a long time, I think I've been saying too much or too frequently, that they have built an army of illegals that they intend on using against us. Tell me where I'm wrong here. I don't think I am. Now let's take a look at the Dial Lounge, as I guess we're not going to have, and I'm really sorry because I was looking forward to having Jonathan on today, and I'm just going to flip over the script because he's obviously couldn't make it or whatever, and I didn't hear from him, which is highly unusual. 3M says in the Dial Lounge, have you seen the lieutenant governor of Minnesota? Oh, yeah. She's a piece of work. She was wearing like a headscarf or a burqa to show solidarity with the Somali community. Can I ask, what has the Somali community done for the United States of America? How have they benefited our country? They've stolen everything in sight. Have they benefited us? And as I mentioned, with the way in which Tampon Tim and Fry and the rest of those Demcoms in Minnesota who have been running cover for the ICE resistance, they really skirt being in violation of federal law. And as far as Ilhan Omar is concerned, she's already here illegally anyway, so why don't we get her out of here? Again, Minnesota, my friends, a battleground. Sadly, it's a battleground. Now, the other question that Wolf had for Jonathan Gilliam, which obviously he's not going to have an opportunity to answer, and I apologize not only to Producer Bob, but Producer Wolf, who had posted for Jonathan, what steps can ICE take to secure their vehicles? Well, I don't think, Wolf, they can take any. When you have a mob with axes and hammers and stuff smashing windows and breaking into government vehicles, the only action that they can take is to have an armed soldier standing at that vehicle or near that vehicle who will shoot on sight. In other words, if it is the Insurrection Act and martial law, is martial law going to be declared by the president? Who knows? But if somebody attempts to break into a vehicle, shot on sight. It's almost as if they are going to be looting a community that's been hit by some sort of natural disaster. That's my opinion. Now, X-Nuke says to Patrick Murray, to purchase a gun from a dealer, one must fill out an ATF form 4473 each time. How do we get the Trump administration to add questions on the form to determine if the individual is a commie, a Somalian, a Demcom, an insurgent, a Russian, Chinese agent, etc.? You get the idea. This applies also for paperwork for background investigations and security clearances. Well, if it was the Israelis, they would be. They do very solid security checks. The Israelis, don't they? We don't do that very much. But when we have agents, soldiers of the Chinese Communist Party coming here and taking target practice, which eventually they're staying sharp to use those weapons against us, something has to change, my friends. Remember, the Demcoms now want weapons because they want to use them against us. Remember, they were trying to build a military during Joe Biden that would agree to fire on us if necessary. Now they've got their army. They brought that army in here from every country through the southern border. And because of that, they are getting ready at some point to fire on us. I believe that's true. Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues next. Our Reporter's Corner coming up. Stay with us.
This is your News Talk America with Jake Smith here on 92.7 WGMD Rehoboth Beach and 98.5 WUSX Seaford, the talk of Delmarva.
A plan President Trump says health insurance companies don't like. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Because they spent hundreds of billions of dollars, and we're going to have that money spent to the people and given to the people.
President Trump touting a blueprint for reform he calls.
This is called officially the Great Health Care Plan. That means low price and great health care.
Also touting at a roundtable this morning, $50 billion in rural health care funding,
which will benefit Americans in all 50 states. And this made possible and was made possible by cutting massive waste, fraud, and abuse from Medicaid.
Democrats have blamed the president and Republicans for allowing some Obamacare tax credits to expire last year, increasing the cost of coverage for millions of Americans. The president now has the Nobel Peace Prize. Maria Corina Machado gave it to him as a gift, telling Fox afterward,
I decided to present the Nobel Peace Prize medal on behalf of the people of Venezuela.
After the U.S. operation that ousted leader Nicolas Maduro, who persecuted Machado for her opposition push for democracy, which is the reason the Nobel Committee awarded her. The U.S. is sending an aircraft carrier to the Middle East as President Trump still considers taking action against Iran for a deadly crackdown on protesters that a hardline cleric wants to continue.
Ahmed Khatami's sermon was carried on Iran's state radio. In it, he called for demonstrators to be put to death, a call echoed by a chanting congregation. He described protesters as the butlers of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the soldiers of President Donald Trump. Americans and Zionists, Khatami added, should not expect peace.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Charlie Kirk's accused assassins due back in court today for another hearing.
Lawyers for Tyler Robinson argue because a prosecutor's adult child was at the Turning Point USA event when Charlie Kirk was shot and killed, they can't stay impartial, therefore they should be removed. Prosecutors, though, are saying the adult child couldn't see who fired the shots and had no first-hand knowledge of the killing.
That's Jeff Paul. America's listening to Fox News.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Michaela's Mobile Spa, Michaela. Michaela got a quick business insurance quote from Progressive and chose from over 30 customizable coverages. Sure, it helps she's her only employee and does literally everything. But while others would rest on their laurels, Michaela was hard at work saving big. So take that, hypothetical other employee who doesn't exist. Be your own Michaela. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.
Welcome to the most wonderful time of the year, when millions of Americans open their credit card statements, scream in terror, and start looking for new ways to save money. If that's you, why not cut your wireless bill in half with a saver plan from Pure Talk? You'll get unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on a super fast 5G network for just $20 a month. Ho, ho, ho. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will help you switch in minutes. Again, talk, text, and data for just $20.
Delmarva's home for local news, 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
The news is brought to you by Wings to Go Longneck. Open every day at 11 a.m. Order on DoorDash or call 302-947-9444.
U.S. Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester is taking on social media companies over the rise of AI-generated sexualized images. Rochester enlisted 7 other senators in sending a letter to the major tech firms asking about their policies to remove such content, including those depicting minors, and how they prevent its distribution. Senators highlighted the risks to privacy and safety, emphasizing it's the responsibility of tech companies to protect women and minors from harassment and exploitation. The Delaware Senate unanimously passed a bill that expands the state's Office of New Americans. SB 27 builds on Governor Matt Meyer's launch of the office and will centralize and coordinate services related to immigrant integration, workforce development, and access to state programs. If approved, the bill will also set up an advisory committee to aid other refugee resettlement agencies. The bill now moves to the House of Representatives for consideration. The Ocean View Post Office is undergoing a complete remodel as the closure that has been in place for several months will remain in effect. The Talk of Delmarva's Joe Chicante has more.
The Ocean View Post Office has been closed for several months because of water and mold problems stemming from required maintenance that had not been completed. State Senator Gerald Hocker tells the Talk of Delmarva what happens next now that the review has been finalized.
They are getting ready to start a complete remodel of the building, and they would not give us any timeline, but they promised to keep us updated as the project materialized. As they got started, they would keep us informed of when they thought the completion date would be.
He adds that the Bethany Beach Post Office is handling Ocean View customers for now, as long as the facility is able to accommodate the additional demand. In Bethany Beach, I'm Joe Ciccante for the Talk of Delmarva.
For more on these and other stories, visit talkofdelmarva.com. I'm Heather Kelly.
Craving wings? Head to Wings to Go Longneck, now under new ownership, where flavor meets freshness. Choose from 29 sauces and dry rubs. Enjoy traditional or boneless wings, always cooked to order. Try cheesesteaks and their popular soft-shell crabs. Conveniently located at 25938 Plaza Drive in Millsboro. Open daily at 11 a.m. Call 302-947-9444 or order on DoorDash. Wings to Go Longneck. Simply great wings since 1985.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues. Your anchorman, Jake Smith, with you until noon Eastern Time. It's the Reporters Panel. And during the 11 o'clock hour, we try to bring those eyes, ears, and voices together that will give us their take on the most interesting stories of the week. Well, it certainly has been an interesting week with biological sex taking center stage. And with that, let's listen to this audio cut. And then we're going to bring in our first panelist, David Zier, host of Breaking Point, Real America's Voice News.
Your opinion as a doctor, can men get pregnant? I mean,
based on the science, can men get pregnant? That's a yes or no question. It really is, I think.
I think you're trying to reduce the complexity of
It's not complex. I'm trying to get to an answer. As a medical professional and as a scientist, can men get pregnant?
I think you're also conflating
This is extraordinary.
male.
I just threw the little cackle from Kamala at the end there. Well, David Zier, host of Breaking Point, Real America's Voice News. It certainly was an interesting week. Not only did you have one of your most difficult assignments in Minneapolis last week, you come back and it's been, well, let's put it this way, it's been a very unusual week, to say the least. Right, David?
That's right, Jake. And my plans to have my fifth child, but on my end, that has been thwarted. So I'm very disappointed.
Well, I would have liked that the next question for this doctor, asking this OBGYN doctor who was testifying before the U.S. Senate, has she ever conducted an internal pelvic exam on a biological male, right?
That's disgusting. And I did see rabbit tests with Billy Crystal, so maybe she's right.
I remember that rabbit test. You have a good memory.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, heard defending men and women's sports at the Supreme Court this week. So should Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson have recused herself on this case, given that she's on record saying that she cannot define what a woman is? David, what do you think?
She should recuse herself from the black robe in general.
Oh, she is just such a disgrace. Yeah. How did she ever get confirmed? Maybe is it DEI? Could that have been why that she was confirmed?
Right. I'll let you answer that.
Yeah. David, the Insurrection Act, it appears based on what's going in Minnesota now that the ICE agents there, you were there on the ground in the battlefield, as I'm calling it, last week. They just appear to be outnumbered. And what we're seeing now over the past couple of days, the Insurrection Act is needed. Your response?
Probably. Listen, they're all unhinged. This is highly coordinated from the top down. I was in Powderhorn Park last week, and there are 30,000 people there. There were no cops. There was only a chopper overhead and drones because they wanted their unrest. I was the only media on the ground actually interviewing people in the protest that I could see, and I was there for many hours. Me and Nick Sauter were there. And they all honed in on us, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, right? Calling and whistling with their stupid do-it-yourself ice warning whistle kit, whatever the hell it is.
And who's that old hag with the drum?
Well, it got worse, you know. So I was like heckled, and they all ganged up on us, and it got violent at the end, and our security almost pulled their weapons out. But you know, Comedy Central's Daily Show and Jimmy Kimmel both had my segment on this week with that crazy, angry white woman leftist unhinged yelling and singing sing-song to me, you know, and they were like celebrating it as like, oh, they were, you know, going after the wannabe Fox reporter. But it really just showed them, you know, they were trying to paint us as right-wing hacks. But what it really did was show the rampant mental illness within the anti-ICE movement, especially after we were attacked unprovoked in a restaurant by a crazed leftist lunatic mom in front of her children with a glass of Fireball in my cameraman's face for no reason. And Andrew Colvert of the Charlie Kirk Show maintains that mental illness being demonstrated by the women is a product of psychosis driven into their minds by the left, and that they're basically cannon fodder and for the Marxist and left-wing agenda. I say it's SSRIs and long-term birth control that are scrambling their brains, altering chemical imbalances, and yeah, it's pretty sick.
But don't you think that these women, and they obviously, some of them are just out and out psychotic if you watch their behavior, don't you think that they are ripe for the pickings by these organizations that are hiring, training, and paying them? I mean, obviously they are being trained to do, I mean, well, I wouldn't exactly say, seeing some of them, I wouldn't say groove, but you know, they're certainly being radicalized. That they are candidates for that. They see that and they seize upon that. Do you think that that's what's going on here?
It's radicalized combined with shallow American modern life. You know, these people, they don't have any values. You know, and it's really, it's just crazy. It's dystopian, and it's sad, and it's sick. And they gotta, you know, I don't know how to turn that part around. You know, we could have all the troops in the street we want. If everybody is, you know, up until 4 a.m. playing Call of Duty online and smoking weed in the basement and then think they're social justice warriors by day, I don't know what the cure for that other than starting the draft again.
No, that's a fair point. But the situation there right now, Minnesota's not. They don't have streets there. It's a battlefield. David, is that the way it felt to you when you were there last week?
Well, so that area over there where Renee Good was shot, and it was 2 blocks from George Floyd, and this Powderhorn Park is another 2 blocks over. It's just outside of downtown Minneapolis. It's very tight streets. It's small streets. It's working class communities, but it's also filled with America haters. And the Minneapolis movement is probably the most extreme, even worse than Portland, if you can imagine that. And they're crazy. And they want America to crumble. And they want civil war. And Tim Walz and Jacob Fry and a lame police commissioner who looks like he wants to kill himself up on stage next to the mayor, you know, are absent in their duties to maintain order. And Trump's got to act.
You know, there was a statistic last night on I think it was the 5 on Fox, where Jesse Waters was giving the statistics of how many illegals have been arrested by ICE in Minneapolis over the last week. And the fact that there were no arrests by the Minneapolis Police Department. 0, nada, none, David.
Well, if you didn't have the local law enforcement in Portland and Seattle and Chicago and Minneapolis and New York and other blue cities, getting them out the back door, the illegals, when they commit heinous crimes or violent crimes or robberies, they wouldn't need to go into the neighborhoods. ICE would not need to be doing this. So this is on the blue city government. And the truth is going to come out. They can maintain, you know, Trump's breaking apart the country and he wants, you know.
He's breaking up families. He's breaking up families, David.
It's all bullcrap. And the Minneapolis School District are grooming our kids to hate America at 6 years old, encouraging walkouts, giving them days off to go protest. And they're just as guilty. This is not America anymore. And the people of Minnesota obviously aren't going to stand up and quell this. Trump has to.
I'm not sure your thoughts on what happened 2 nights ago when an ICE agent working alone. I don't know why they don't have 2 agents. At least they should have partners when they're working out in the field. He was attacked with a snow shovel. We know the whole story. 2 illegals not related to this Venezuelan who was being in the process of being arrested, attacking the ICE agent with a snow shovel. They went and got in and tried to defend the Venezuelan. And then last night, it was the night before, we saw the breaking into the FBI vehicle, stealing body armor, documents, and an automatic weapon, breaking open the lockbox from the FBI. They've arrested this Latin Kings gang member, but they still don't have the weapon. That weapon is out there. Is it going to be used against law enforcement?
$1 to a donut, probably. This is, listen, you got to figure every state has 20, 30, 40, 50 groups across the United States in these different cities. This is highly coordinated. It's not going to calm down anytime soon.
David, we have so much more to talk about. David Zier, host of Breaking Point, Real America's Voice News. David's program airs Saturday mornings, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. You can download the app. You can watch the show for free. If you don't have Real America's Voice on your satellite or cable system, download the app and watch it for free. Breakfast with David. You won't be disappointed. David, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be joined when we return by Tiana Losh-Dosher, reporter for the Washington Examiner. We'll be continuing with our reporters panel in just a moment on Your News Talk America. Stay with us.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Bright sunshine expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 39. Southwesterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows level off around 32 tonight. Partly cloudy skies. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun tomorrow. Slight chance for rain. High temperatures reach up to 48. About an inch of snow Sunday. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center along the coast. Currently, it's 30 degrees.
92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, where the news comes first. News on the hour on WGMD.
This 11 a.m. Wellness Minute is locally brought to you by Pam Health Rehabilitation Hospitals. Recovery doesn't end when the hospital stay does. That's why Pam Health offers specialized support groups for individuals recovering from stroke, brain injury, or amputation, and for the families who walk that journey beside them. Their support groups offer a strong, understanding community, both in person and virtually, where you can share experiences, ask questions, and receive real support and advice from those who've been there. As one member said, the doctors and therapists helped me recover my body. The support group helped me recover myself. To learn more, visit pamhealth.com. That's pamhealth.com.
Try before you buy. Hi, I'm Chris Adams of Mattress Peddlers in Lewis, your local family-owned Serta mattress store. Visit our showroom to try out the best bed for you. Your decision on a mattress today ensures comfort for years to come. Feel the difference and decide. We have memory foam, hybrids, and adjustable bases. Take the time to stop by Mattress Peddlers in Lewis, open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 4 on Route 24 in Peddlers Village. Mattress Peddlers.
Views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and not necessarily the staff, management, ownership, advertisers, or sponsors of WGMD. First Light Delmarva with Mike Bradley, a weekday morning magazine beginning at 5 with local and national news, traffic, weather, ag report, business news, and sports. Starting your day in the know on 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, where Delmarva comes to talk. 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America. On 92.7 WGMD, the Talk of
Delmarva. Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues. It's our reporters panel. David Zier, the host of Breaking Point, Real America's Voice News. David, I've got a question here from one of our producers, Bob, posted on our Dial Interactive board for you. Should members of the media who are inciting insurrection in the United States be prosecuted? Can they be prosecuted despite their First Amendment protections, which protect speech but not open law breaking? I think I know the answer to that question, but I'm going to let you handle it. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't want to see that. I don't, unless they're calling for specific acts of violence for somebody to go do something. That's crossing the line. But I was in the Soviet Union in '86 with the tanks in the street. I don't want censorship, you know. But if they're going to put people in harm's way and with specific things, you know, you could tell somebody, hey, go pick up a rifle and, you know, start going to the Capitol and do whatever you want to do. You know, you could do that. You know, but there are consequences for it if somebody gets hurt. So, you know, we're in a tough time here. We're in a tough time. I think the left wants to break up the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no question that that they do. Well, they weaken the country by destabilizing it. They weaken it. Now, will there be secession? There could be a secession. You tell me how Minnesota is going to survive without the rest of the country. You want to join Canada? Go ahead. You're near the Canadian border anyway. Does California want to join Mexico again? Go ahead. See what happens if you join Mexico. I mean, we're going to get Greenland anyway, so we'll trade California for Greenland, I guess, David.
Yeah, Minneapolis economy sucks. They're the second highest income tax state. They also are 44th when it comes to the burden on taxation, like in the top 6, I think. So, you know, they're not doing well. Texas could secede. They have oil. They got water.
Yeah, that's true. No, and Texas wants to be its own country again anyway. So we understand that. Let me play some audio from yesterday's presser at the White House. Get your response.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt ripping a reporter who asked this question.
Renee Good was shot in the head and killed by an ICE agent. How does that equate to them doing everything correctly?
Why was Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed her unjustifiably.
Oh, okay. So you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist, and it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases, you should be reporting on the facts. You should be reporting on the cases. Do you have the numbers of how many American citizens were killed at the hands of illegal aliens who ICE is trying to remove from this country? I bet you don't.
Well, I thought that that British-sounding man was from the BBC, but he was apparently from The Hill. What say you, David?
Yeah, Niall Stanage. He's on
you know him?
Show.
Okay.
You know, he's not very good, and he hates. You know, I don't know. He's given his perspective on American politics, and he's Irish. They need to get a better host. Yeah.
If he's Irish, that means he's probably a commie. All right, so
well, he's an Irish reporter. I don't know what his ethnicity is, but
okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's welcome in return panelist in the reporters panel, Tiana Lowe-Dozier, political news commentator for the Washington Examiner and the co-host of the Political Pregame podcast. Tiana, welcome back. It's great to have you back. Your response to, I thought Caroline Leavitt handled herself perfectly yesterday. What say you?
I mean, yeah, this is one of those mainstream media lies that is like the weird funhouse version of what we saw some on the right do with Ashley Babbitt after January 6th. The fact is that there is legitimate protest. There is peacefully protesting on a sidewalk. And then there's obstructing traffic, refusing to listen to officer orders. And unfortunately, I mean, maybe I just am part of a different generation, but I remember getting, you know, the talk of if law enforcement tells you to do something, you do the thing first, absent, you know, abiding by an unlawful seizure or search. Yep. And then you lawyer up later if you really think that you're in the right. Right. And so with this case of Renee Good, it's a very odd attempt to read George Floyd something. The difference between George Floyd and Renee Good is George Floyd was supposed to be there. he was allowed to be on the street. Renee Good was not allowed to mow down an ICE officer who now is suffering internal bleeding with her car. And, you know, I think President Trump's numbers on immigration have gone down in recent months over, I think, a lot of messaging issues with regards to, are we deporting criminal illegals? Are we deporting legals who have H-1B visas or visa overstays or whatnot? But this does not help the anti-Trump case.
No question about it. I want to just tell you, Tiana, that one of our producers in our Dial Interactive board just posted, Xnuke. I think Tiana is one of the smartest young women out there reporting, commenting, and battling the Demcoms. I follow her on X. I also watch her when she is on Maria's show in the morning and when she is on the Right Squad on Newsmax. How about that, Tiana?
I appreciate that. All hours of the day. I for you as long as people are behaving badly.
Now, we had a question from one of our producers, and I asked David about the fact, can reporters who are openly assisting the resistance, can they be held? Can they be held in response to federal law? You can't hinder a federal officer, but the fact of the matter is you can't. They have First Amendment protections, but there's a different aspect to this, and I have a question. Elected representatives appear to be leading and guiding these revolutionaries now operating in the Twin Cities. They dance ever so close to violating federal law. So does Pam Bondi, who we call Gidget on this show because we think we call her Gidget, does Pam Bondi have the courage to indict them? Tiana, I'll ask you first, and then I'm going to go back to David. Go ahead.
I mean, I think the issue with Pam Bondi, beyond her plate already being full in a way that, like, has clearly not reflected well on the Justice Department, and again, a lot of that is out of her control, right? She's dealing with 10 million plus illegals that came into this country just under Joe Biden. I think the major issue is you want to focus on what these jurisdictions are doing, and that is sanctuary law. Look, remember, the entire Civil War and then subsequent civil rights movements was about answering the question, states' rights to what? And the fact is that correctly, the idea is that the federal government is allowed to come in with the barrel of a gun and with armed guards if you believe that you can own people. If you believe that you can forcibly, segregate systems and not allow Black citizens of this country to go to private businesses. The same way is that if you believe you do not need to abide by federal law, and as a consequence, you're not even letting DHS into the jails to find the worst of the worst criminal illegals who have already been charged or convicted with violent crimes, then of course this is going to be the response. So I really think the focus for a pure PR perspective, but also just practically, we have no idea over 4 years of Biden how many people came in who have been convicted or charged with a violent crime. You have to go after them, and you have to go after the sanctuary policies. Less what they say, which is abhorrent. Tim Walz pretending that this is like the Civil War is indeed abhorrent. But the focus should be on what they're doing now.
David, your response. Obviously Tampon Tim and the Mayor Jacob, don't call me Glenn Fry, Keith Ellison, they are really walking a very, very thin line with regard to being in violation of that federal law that you cannot interfere with federal law enforcement. Not like goes in Marxist state media who have First Amendment protections. This is not about First Amendment. What do you think? You were on the ground in Minnesota last week.
Yeah, the only difference between George Floyd and this is there's snow on the ground and it's 10 degrees. They can't burn it all down, But listen, I spoke out on Real America's Voice. I cover the White House, but not full time. And Brian Glenn, our chief correspondent, we were talking on the air, and we said the White House needs to do better messaging here and be specific about who they're taking away and all this, because we know the jails aren't cooperating, right? So, and you know what? They started that day a little bit more, and we may have something to do with that. I don't know. But I will tell you that the messaging this week has been a lot better, because when people, they keep hammering home this message, it's going to dilute and throw water on Tim Walz and Jacob Fry and everything. I don't think they're going to be charged with anything, and we're a long way away from that. It could get really ugly when the weather breaks. I think nationwide we're facing riots for the midterms for the purposes of the Dems saying, look, Trump split America up. But they have to stay on message, and they have to be resolute, but they also have to be, they're already reconsidering some of the tactics and stuff going on. There's been meetings and stuff that I'm hearing. So, they have to continue to arrest the worst of the worst and get that message out on a minute-by-minute basis and never stop doing it.
Rob Carson's joining us, host of The Rob Carson Show, which gets underway just after noon on our flagship station, 98.5. Rob, welcome to the Reporters Panel. You've been listening to the conversation. What say you, sir?
Well, I think that Tim Walz and Keith Ellison and others are going at this twofold. They want to keep the illegals here that they're able to buy and vote slavishly Democrat, and also cover up their malfeasance. I disagree with you. I think Mr. Walz and Mr. Ellison are going to go to jail. I
love that.
Are you kidding me? You cannot rob.
Yeah, you go.
Bullcrap. Absolute bullcrap. This is going to be the year of some accountability. I'm not saying Hillary's going to go to jail, although we can all fantasize, honestly. But as far as Walz and Ellison, I think they face jail time and criminality. 100%. I think the people of Minnesota are sick and tired of this crap, and so are the people of America.
Yeah, and we're starting to hear the people of Minnesota react. Those are not the ones in the city. Tiana, do you agree that Minnesota voters, by and large, are more independent than what you would see in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis, St. Paul?
I mean, my understanding is that Minnesota is more bifurcated than like almost any other blue state, including California.
Right.
Just because the brand of leftism that's taken over the center of these cities. I mean, when you're making, San Francisco look pretty moderate, like there was like enough of an instinct in San Francisco. They had elected Daniel Lurie. At least they're like, okay, hold the phone. All right, we got to hold up here. I mean, Jacob Frey, let's not forget, the reason why he was able to win the rigged primary against Omar Fateh was because he was literally playing the two Somali clans off of each other. That's not exactly a great place for your city to be in. And so I would hope that there would be some sort of common sense rationale in the suburbs, out in the outskirts. Yeah. But frankly, I don't have much hope of it, because unlike California, where you could say, hey, we're losing a lot of our really important industries, Minnesota, I'm sorry, it's not zeitgeist. I don't think you have a Peter Thiel or, the All In podcast guys who are able to restore it to sanity. It's everyone just going down with the ship.
Tiana, thank you so much for coming on. Tiana Lowe-Dozier, political news commentator for the Washington Examiner. Rob Carson, your show's coming up in a few moments. What can we look forward to?
Oh, my goodness, we're going to have some fun. We got the unusual suspects, Mary Walter, Tony Kennett, Christian Toto. Lots on Minnesota. I think you're going to find a little different perspective. Very hopeful, very positive, and I think retribution is coming. Also news on Iran.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
David Zier, host of Breaking Point, Real America's Voice News. What's coming up on your show tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, Real America's Voice News?
Yeah, we're going to talk about Operation Deflect Somali Fraud in Minnesota in full effect. And Kalen Deese from the Washington Examiner on DOJ.
He's outstanding.
Kelly on ICE. And we're going to talk about the breakdown and what's legal and what isn't. And it's going to be a great show.
I want to thank you all for participating in the Reporters Panel today. Hopefully we can have you all back on in the very near future. You're listening to and watching Your News Talk America. Digital Interactive Friday continues in just a moment.
Sorry I was late. I apologize. I had a
forecast from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center. A gale warning continues. Sunshine with highs heading to the upper 30s to near 40 today. And on the water, west-southwest winds will be strong, 10 to 25 knots. Seas subside to 3 to 4 feet by afternoon. The current water temperature is 39 degrees. At Cambridge, low tide 8:12 a.m., high tide 2:37 p.m., low tide 9:26 p.m. And at Rehoboth Beach, low tide 12:20 p.m., high tide 6:03 p.m., low tide 11:59 p.m.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson of the Rob Carson Show, now on the Talk of Delmarva's 98.5.
Jake Smith, mid-mornings on WGMD. You're listening to WGMD.
This WGMD Fox Business Update is brought to you by Sussex Environmental Consultants. For a healthy home, call 302-947-1810.
I'm Susan Lee, and this is the Fox Business Report.
There's mixed news on the economy. Factories were busier than expected last month. The Federal Reserve says industrial production climbed 0.4% in December. Mining production declined, but utilities say their production was up 2.6%. Though confidence among U.S. home builders declined this month. The drop was not expected. The National Association of Home Builders Wells Fargo Housing Market Index slipped to a reading of 37, down from 39 in December. Shares of J.B. Hunt Transport Services are down 1.5%. The logistics company says transcontinental load volumes were down in the recent quarter, pushing down revenue. PNC Financial shares, though, up more than 3% after it reported an upbeat quarter. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
Progressive Commercial presents Heroes That Keep Truckers Going. Today's hero, your favorite sassy diner server. Sure, her eyes might say, I don't have all day. But deep down, you know that extra pancake on your plate says, I dislike you less than most people. Thanks, hero. What else can keep truckers going? Progressive Truck Insurance with primary liability limits up to $2 million. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage subject to terms and limits. Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues from DS2 live and uninterrupted. My friends, there's so much going on right now with respect to geopolitical events and so forth, but every time there is a shift in the geopolitical status in this world, we start wondering about what's going on with commodities and the price of gold and silver. And I want to welcome in our good friend Anthony Esposito, the founder and CEO of Ascalon 6 Capital. And this is the first time I've seen you in a trade area. Anthony, usually in your office. That's pretty cool.
That's right, Jake. I'm to your point, it's been pretty busy, a ton of news. And so I decided to do this one from the desk. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
All right,
It's good to see the command center, right?
That's it.
All right. So we continue to hear stories about what's happening in this commodity and that commodity. What effect the events in Venezuela have had, what's the effects in Iran have had. What about the Iranian Revolution and its impact on commodities and stocks and so forth? What are you seeing, Anthony?
Yeah, I think overall it's been bullish. In our basket at Ascalon 6, we focus on a smaller basket, but we do have gold and crude in the basket. And overall, it's been bullish, both moves for both commodities. Gold as a safe haven from the low for this year, we're up about 8%, and crude up about 12%. That crude move was kind of counterintuitive because it seemed like that Venezuela event initially was negative for crude, to neutral to negative.
Right.
You would think more supply, more access to supply, crude would continue its fall, and it was at a multi-month low when that news hit. But it's since run 12%. So it's been bullish for both gold as a safe haven and crude as we came out of the Venezuela conversation and we came into the Iran conversation. Then it became, are we going to see actually a stranglehold on supply, whether it be a disruption with Iran or whether Iran start to limit the 20 million barrels a day traveling through the Straits of Hormuz, which would be about 20% of global production. So bullish for commodities on both fronts year to date, and it's been aggressive, and those total moves are not without a lot of noise and volatility within the move. So, to look at it in hindsight and step back and say, oh, crude's up 12%, that's a nice trade. But within that move, we've had a lot of swings, a lot of intra-session swings back and forth in price. So volatility, check. And bullish in price action, check, and we'll see how that carries out through the weekend and next week as we await President Trump and the United States' ultimate response to Iran.
I have a link, my friends, on my show notes for today at realnewstalk.com to Ascalon 6 Capital's website, ascalon6capital.com. Anthony, I thought you'd like that. We have a little link that our listeners can go on and actually click and go on to your website. What's happening with the price of silver and gold? And I had someone ask me last week about the price of silver. Honestly, didn't know. That's why I wanted to get you back on. Silver and gold, is there anything significant going on with the prices of those two very precious metals?
Yeah, I think the gold trade has been obviously a push into a safe haven. We have a weaker dollar. We have lower real yields. And then we have geopolitical risk. So I've just gone through the inputs to gold. That's essentially it. Real yields, geopolitical risk, and the value of the dollar. Or said another way, what are the inflation expectations? So right now, geopolitical risk has taken over with a weaker dollar, and you're seeing a push into gold. Silver has really been, was for some time in this gold secular bull run, was kind of ignored. And there were calls out 12 and 18 months ago that silver was the one to own, that it would eventually catch up and surpass the performance of gold. And that's exactly what we're seeing happening. So they should move somewhat in tandem. There should be a correlation between the moves, different uses for each metal, right? A little more industrial use for silver versus gold. But the spread between the two had gotten historically wide, and now that's been gapped up, closed, and silver is off to the races. There is some speculation, and I'm seeing a lot of stories about massive short positions in silver by the larger banks. I'm not sure, and I have not confirmed this with any of my traders at those banks, but the speculation is that they have been short. They are over short, and now we're potentially heading into a squeeze. So now you get away from fundamentals and you get into trading, and the trade there would be you get long silver and you push those shorts and force them to cover. Once they start to cover, if they are short the size that it looks like they're short, you're going to see a gap up in price and a run because they're going to have to cover those shorts on margin calls. And now you're seeing additional gas, additional wind behind the back of silver. So that in a nutshell are the metals, and silver is very curious. It's very interesting at this point, but there's more to play than just, a safe haven play into a precious, somewhat industrial metal.
We're being joined by panelist Anthony Esposito, the founder and CEO of Ascalon 6 Capital. Anthony's been very generous with us with his time, especially over the last month. But any predictions that you made before the end of the year, you may have to throw them out the window, right, Anthony, because of the way the world is changing so rapidly, right?
It's crazy. The overall view of the market heading out of the end of the year and into this year was bullish on the desk.
Right.
Excuse me. And that's kind of played to suit, right? We've seen an upward move in equities. What I did not expect is the massive outperformance by small caps. We have the Russell year to date up 7.8%. We have the S&P up only 1.5%, and the Mag 7, the darlings who are carrying the S&P for the past 6 years, are actually down 1.3% numbers this morning. So
why?
Well, what we're seeing is a rotation away from what I have believed and do believe are overvalued growth plays in the Mag 7, in those AI chip technology names. And as we break out, you need to find a place to put that capital that you're pulling from those overvalued names. And as the Venezuela news hits, that looks like it's bearish, it's scary, it's turmoil, when in effect it could be skewed as, and we're seeing this, growth opportunity for the industrials, growth opportunity for the energy names, and the basic material names, and that's where we're seeing the growth. If you lay on top, so where do you pick, right? You start to go down the chain, down the food chain, and you pick those mid-cap, small-cap names. And you can see that as well if you look at the S&P equal weight. So if you take that massive weighting away, that market cap weighting away from those big tech names, and you say, okay, everybody's equal. Let's equal weight the S&P 500. You essentially create a mid-cap index, not a large-cap index, because you take the top and the bottom and you weight them the same. The mid-cap is up 4.1%, again, outperforming the S&P 500, outperforming the NASDAQ, and outperforming the Mag 7, those big tech names. So people start to look down the food chain, figure out where there's some growth, where they can put money. And then to go a little deeper into the trading aspect of it, there's a liquidity trap, right? If you're going to take $1 billion of investable assets from large cap, that's pretty easy to get out. That's a quick trade. But if you want to put that $1 billion into small caps, well, there's not as much liquidity there. So where you may have to move a name let's say to get 100 million in exposure in the S&P 500, a large cap name, and NVIDIA, maybe that name moves a nickel, right?
Wow.
If you're going to get that same $100 million of exposure in a small cap Russell 2000 name, you may be moving that name 20 bips, 40 bips, 50 bips. I don't know, but based on liquidity, there's not enough there to accept the capital coming in, and that's why I think we've seen this massive outperformance in the Russell. So it's a distribution away from, a redistribution of assets away from those larger cap growth names into names that don't have the liquidity, but you need to get the capital invested, and that's kind of what we're seeing now.
Let's shift, if we can, to mortgage rates. They have fallen recently. What's going on with the 10-year Treasury yield? Because that's what mortgage rates are tied to. People think it's the interest rate that the Fed charges, but that is not true at all. It's the 10-year Treasury yield, right?
That's correct. So the Fed funds rate is the overnight lending rate. There is an influence there. You want that rate to be lower overall. The 10-year yield is really what we focus on for, as you said, mortgage rates, credit card rates, car loan rates, across the board. That's what the consumer feels. Now, the spread between the 10-year and the Fed, and the 10-year yield is above the Fed funds rate right now. That spread can be defined as growth concerns or growth optimism and inflation expectations. So you would demand more as an investor or a debtor, right? You're buying debt. You're loaning the government money when you buy those 10-year bonds. Mm-hmm. You want them cheaper and you want more of a return, so a higher yield, a higher rate, if you feel like inflation's an issue or you feel like growth will be an issue, right? So as we feel like growth is returning to the U.S. and it's stabilizing, and we feel like inflation is kind of normalizing back towards the 2% target, you should see Fed funds as they tick down, 3.75, 3.50, 3.25. We should start to see that 10-year yield come in along with those expectations, again, for growth and inflation. And then that should start to smooth out and ease the borrowing cost for consumers and roll right into that mortgage rate.
One of the issues that we're dealing with as far as the Fed is concerned, I know you touched upon the Fed, and every time I bring up Powell's name, you smile. See, you're smiling again.
He makes me happy.
Yes, I understand. One of our producers, Bob, was asking about his possible indictment and so forth. He's under investigation for lying to Congress. He is due to leave office in 4 months. Is this going to have any effect on the market at all? And should he be forced to resign? What do you think is going to happen there? I mean, he obviously misrepresented, it appears to me, how much the renovations were going to be at the Fed and actually what they turned out to be. But of course, the taxpayers, we just pay that, right? Anthony, we just foot the bill. But what do you think about all this hoopla about the possible indictment of Fed Chairman Powell? Does it have any negative effect on the market at all?
Well, first of all, I think he misrepresented two things. He misrepresented the project and the cost, and then he misrepresented the inquiry from the Department of Justice. He was asked questions. He didn't answer them. He was asked the questions again. He didn't answer them. Now they've subpoenaed him to answer questions. That's it. I said it yesterday on my podcast. The TikTok video that he put up, kind of standing in the line for the Constitution, and
that was not a good idea. Who told him to do that, Anthony?
I don't know, but they're the same people giving Ilhan Omar, Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer their advice on their videos and their delivery.
Yeah. No,
I mean, so for me, he's misrepresented a ton, including the inquiry. I believe flat out the markets are concerned with rates, as they have been since 2000, the beginning of real easy money. Markets have been following the shiny bouncing ball of the Fed funds rate. We will continue to do that. I think that markets believe, and this is part of the gas to the markets right now, markets believe rates will come down further regardless of who President Trump puts in place, because whoever he puts in place will be appointed by the president, and the president, regardless of his name, will appoint people that he believes are in line with his view.
I have a question that's been posted just moments ago by our producer, Big Cat, for you. Do you think the price of silver will be up a year from now? Any guess on a percentage of the current price? How much higher could it be a year from now? Thank you, Big Cat, for your question. And you say, Anthony?
My expectation from current levels is that we're going to see an additional gap higher in silver. A year from now, we'll see silver performing but I don't think it will be performing versus current price. I think we're probably near a top right now for silver. I do think there's more upside on a trade or an intermediate term position. But I think what we've seen in this explosion in silver will probably start to settle down. And if I'm saying 12 months from now, would I want to be a buyer today or a seller? I guess ultimately I'm saying I would be a seller today. I think I could buy them back cheaper 12 months from now. I don't think the market crashes, but I think it's lower than where we are.
Anthony, the United States yesterday and Taiwan came to an agreement, $250 billion tariff deal over semiconductors. Your response to that?
I love the continuation of the tariff conversation along with the 10,000 other topics that President Trump addresses daily. He has clearly not taken a page from President Biden's nap notebook because there's no napping for him. I love the idea of staying on the tariff conversation with Taiwan. I love the idea of the additional investment, hundreds of billions of dollars of investment into the country to have those chips built here. Again, national security, economic growth, private job creation. It continues to move us in the right direction, and we can play nice in the sandbox. We can lower tariffs and work with partners who are good partners. We're looking to be a good partner, and I say this to my investors, and I mean it. We want to be a good partner to good partners, and I think that's Trump's stance on trade and tariffs.
Final question for Anthony Esposito. Recent reports from Washington on employment and inflation, they seem to be pretty stable to me. What does it mean for our economy right now based on what you've seen, the inflation rates, unemployment numbers just over the past week, Anthony?
Yeah, as far as inflation, the annualized rates are coming our way. Broad stroke, they're coming our way. CPI annualized at 2.4%. That was well above, 5% to 8% under Biden. Right. It's coming our way. It's not low enough, but it's moving in the right direction. I wouldn't take a victory lap, but I'm happy to see the progress we've made. That is flat out a good sign. As far as market, I think that the signs are very positive and very bullish, and I'll tell you why. The job losses that we're seeing are government jobs. We're at the lowest government employment rate, expenditure rate in a decade. And we're also seeing, and we're seeing this in the report, over the last 12 months, and I think you and I spoke about this last week, actually, 2.6 million native-born Americans got a job in private industry in the United States of America. So jobs look good. They look healthy. They're going to look skewed a little bit because of the fact that we're losing taxpayer-funded, tax dollar-funded deficit.
Do you know how many jobs the Trump administration got rid of in that first year?
No.
300,000 government jobs eliminated. They don't get enough credit for that, Anthony.
No, and I'm not saying that government seats are not needed.
Right.
I am saying that the amount of government seats we have are not needed. So those 300,000 jobs are gone. Has anyone felt any degree of harm or hurt from lack of production from the government since those jobs have been gone? I would say the answer.
I haven't. I haven't. And I was playing this morning a cut from CNN back in January of 2022 where they were providing cover for Biden. Food price increases, 9%. 9%. Yep. And, we if you don't think that Trump has done a good job in the first year, take a look at what Biden's numbers were. And there are charts. You can go to I think the Consumer Price Index, whatever it is. They show you the graph charts. If you don't see the improvement, then we'll never be able to convince you that President Trump's policies are working. Anthony Esposito, founder, CEO of Ascalon 6 Capital. Anthony, thank you for giving us a look at your trade floor there. It's nice to see. I haven't seen one since I was working down at the World Trade Center many, many years ago, but thank you. And again, my friends, we've got a link to Ascalon 6 website right on my show notes for today. Anthony, thanks so much for coming on. And again, treasure trove of information, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You as well. You're watching Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday. More of our broadcast coming your way in just a moment. Salute the troops as well. Stay with us.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Bright sunshine expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 39. Winds out of the southwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 32 tonight, partly cloudy skies. Slight chance of rain tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 48. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. About an inch of snow Sunday. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center, inland. Right now, 34.
The number one source for information, 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD. Get the WGMD app online today.
Have you looked at your website lately and thought, man, I need to fix this? Or maybe you want to be noticed at the top of the search engines. And social media, you may not even know how to get started. The Talk of Delmarva is here to help you with all of them. And in today's business world, they all matter.
The Talk of Delmarva is the one to count on. For over 40 years, the people of Delmarva have counted on us for news, information, community, and weather. We are also the ones to count on to take your business to the next level. Your total marketing partner and the ones with the ideas. You think it for your business, we can make it happen. We are your one marketing source. Effective ad campaigns, brand formation, digital, website, social media, OTT, and CTV. If you've heard about it, we know how to do it for you. Get in touch with us, thetalkofdelmarva.com.
If you can't find your favorite Talk of Delmarva shows on the WGMD app, here's a tip. Download the WGMD app from the Apple Store or Google Play on your smartphone. Open the app and click on the red box on the upper left of the screen to reveal a pull-down menu. Click on Other Stations, then click on 92.7 or 98.5. Then enjoy your favorite shows from the Talk of Delmarva.
If your church, club, or civic organization is holding an event, the Talk of Delmarva wants to hear about it. We'll help spread the word from the Atlantic Ocean to the Chesapeake Bay, from Pocomoke to Dover. Be sure to include what the event is, who it's for if it's a benefit, and when and where the event will take place, and include a contact number. Send your information at least 2 weeks ahead of time by email to psa@wgmd.com. You'll also find that information on the Contact Us page at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
To honor those men and women who have defended freedom whenever and wherever it was threatened, the Talk of Delmarva presents Salute the Troops.
United States Army Private First Class Miguel A. Villalone, who died at the age of 21 on January 11, 2020, while serving during Operation Freedom's Sentinel. Villalone of Joliet, Illinois, died after his vehicle struck an improvised explosive device in Kandahar Province, Afghanistan. The soldier was assigned to 307th Brigade Engineer Battalion, 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 82nd Airborne Division out of Fort Bragg. His awards and decorations included the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star Medal, the Army Achievement Medal with C device, and the Combat Action Badge. Salute the Troops honors the ultimate sacrifice in Afghanistan of United States Army Private First Class Miguel A. Villalone. Without his enlistment, without his ultimate sacrifice, this nation could not. This nation would never have remained free. For Salute the Troops, I'm Jake Smith.
There's a place where veteran stories, the fabric of our nation's past, serve the future. Now your experiences can be an invaluable resource, a treasured piece of an ever-growing collection. Share your memories with us at the Library of Congress Veterans History Project, where the experiences of U.S. military veterans are preserved. You'll help inform the next generation of students, scholars, researchers, and veterans too. To submit your stories, photographs, and other military documents, visit loc.gov/vets today.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
You're watching Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday. I'm so pleased to have brought this show to you today. I want to thank Snerdley, who's in master control, along with Mark. We could not have gotten this broadcast out to you and streamed video without them. Thanks to Walt, who's handling the audio for the radio side. Remember, my friends, you have a voice. Make sure your voice is heard loud and clear. Millie, Triel, you're home. See you on Monday. Have a great weekend.